Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the Cotton Companion podcast. Since our last visit, Hurricane Delta decided to rain its way up through the Mid-South, slowing a pretty active harvest season down for a few days, much to the chagrin of growers. And USDA dropped its October supply-demand report, which gave prices a boost back into the high 60s. I'm Jim Steadman, Senior Editor of Cotton Grower, and as always, I'm joined by Cotton Grower Editor Frank Giles over in the Orlando area. Frank, here in the Mid-South, we just had a great week of open weather for harvesting, but we sure can't seem to keep the wet weather away.
Yes, these hurricanes seem to be bringing, either through the direct path or the tail of the hurricane brought some rain up through the Carolinas yesterday, and I'm not sure. I think they maybe have dried out today. So it's been wet in spots, and we're still not through October. The hurricane season doesn't officially end till the end of November. So given a year like this, who knows? I know there's another Invest 93 in the Atlantic currently that's starting to make a little noise that we may need to be watching here in a week and a half, 2 weeks.
I think maybe we learned too much about weather when we had Mike on here a couple episodes ago.
It became a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, it did become a self-fulfilling prophecy. And God, I hope we don't have to figure out what happens if we run out of the Greek alphabet on this. But anyway, today, this is our 81st episode of the Cotton Companion. And we're going to swing our focus back to the cotton market following USDA's October report. And we're going to get some insight, advice, and maybe a few surprises from two of our favorite economists, Dr. O.A. Cleveland, who's Professor Emeritus of Ag Economics at Mississippi State University, and Jarral Neeper, who's President of TrueCot Commodities in Bakersfield, California. Yes, you heard me right. We have two opinionated economists right here in our virtual studio to share their 2 cents worth. And every time these two share a forum, it usually gets lively and maybe a little unpredictable. So we hope you'll stay tuned for that segment, and that's coming up shortly. Before we turn our attention to the market, let's take a quick look at what else is happening in the cotton world.
Yeah, we've got a couple of topics of interest to share. First off is the USDA's Ag Marketing Service has released its 2020 cotton varieties planted report. That came out on October 5th, and I think somewhat delayed, right, Jim?
It was definitely delayed, probably by about 4 or 5 months.
Wow.
And we're going to blame COVID-19 on that.
Well, that's probably well placed. And, to no one's surprise, Delta Pine brand of upland cottonseed was again the most popular brand planted in the U.S. this year. I'm going to run through some of these stats, so bear with me if I trip over a number or two here. Delta Pine was most popular brand with 37% of upland acres planted, followed by Americot Next Gen with 28% of acres. Phytogen came in next at 19%, BASF Stoneville at 6%, BASF Fibermax at 5%, Dynagrow at 4%, and Cropland, now going by the name of Armor, at 1%. For the 4th year running, Delta Pine DP 1646 B2XF was the top planted variety in the U.S. on 21.4% of upland acres. Americot's NG5711 B3XF was second on 6.6% of acres. Phytogen's 400 W3FE was third on 5.1% of acres. Out of the top 20 popular upland varieties, Delta Pine claimed 8 spots, followed by Americot Next Gen with 6 spots. Phytogen came in with 4, and BASF Stoneville with 2. Phytogen remains the most popular choice for Pima growers this season. Its 881RF and 841RF claimed 87% of Pima acres. You can find the full breakdown at cottongrower.com. Jim, any surprises in those numbers for you?
No, I can't say that there were any major surprises. It really kind of lines up what we've seen in this report, well, really and truly for the last 3 to 4 years. Delta Pine has usually dominated. We did have a surprise several years ago when Americot and Next Gen top the chart. Again, it all kind of holds, it's almost like selecting chalk for the NCAA tournament. You can kind of place the varieties and place the companies, and and things rarely change. The percentage points will change obviously from year to year, and some of the varieties will change. But one thing that I kind of lament about this is, yes, this report came out about 4 months too late, or later than it normally did, but it's also the last report of its kind. This report will not be issued beginning next year. I guess USDA has looked at, we have so many reports, and which ones do we need to do? And this one obviously fell into the unessential categories, because we've always kind of considered it a bragging rights report,
Right.
more than anything. So we'll be sad to see it go, and probably we'll forget that it's not going to be out next year, and come July, August, we'll start wondering exactly where it is again.
When's this report coming out? So
yeah.
Yep.
Have you seen this report? When's it coming?
Yeah. Well, good deal. Well, one other item here is the National Cotton Council. We've mentioned a few times, I believe, here that its belt-wide cotton conferences are going to be held virtually this year or next year on January 5th and 7th. Those planning to participate in the 2021 live stream event must register at the Beltwide website, and that's cotton.org/beltwide. The site also includes a program and schedule information and registration cost. The 2021 Beltwide conferences will begin at 8 a.m. Central Time on January 5th, with the half-day Cotton Consultants Conference, which is open to all attendees. The 11 Beltwide Cotton Technical Conferences begin that afternoon and run through 5 p.m. on January 7th.
Now it's time to bring today's distinguished guests into the virtual Cotton Companion studio. Jarral Neeper is president of True Cotton Commodities in Bakersfield, California, and Dr. O.A. Cleveland, who's professor emeritus of ag economics at Mississippi State University in beautiful, as we call it in this part of the country, Stark Vegas, Mississippi. Gentlemen, welcome back to the Cotton Companion.
Nice to be here, Jim.
Hey, thanks.
Now, before we get into this market discussion, Jarral, we rarely get a report out of California on cotton. So let's start with sort of how are you doing, and how's the crop looking out there this season?
Well, thanks for asking, Jim. I'm doing fine. Luckily, knock on wood, everybody in the family is doing fine. Nobody's sick. I think Kern County, which is where I live, is getting close to turning red. So possibly some in-school, they may be able, if we turn red, there's no increase in cases over the next 2 weeks, they're going to vote on opening the schools back up. And I only mention this because my daughter's a school teacher, second grade school teacher, and she's been doing all of her stuff remotely right now. But I know she's anxious to get back in the classroom with her kids. The crop, though, people ask me, how have the fires and the smoke, has that impacted the crop? And growers I've talked to have never really mentioned anything about the smoke, except to say that possibly it impacted, it slowed down, let's say, the defoliation process by a couple of days, just because of the lack of direct sunshine. It's a pretty day here today, blue skies, surprisingly. And it's been pretty nice the last 2 or 3 days. We've had a kind of a low pressure system move in here. It's cooled off temperatures. I suspect that maybe in a couple of days, as temperatures warm back up, we may see some more smoke in the sky. But things are okay. As far as cotton is concerned, very little has been harvested. What I know has been harvested, which is upland cotton, and I say upland because it's going to be the first thing that gets harvested in the San Joaquin Valley. The yields look to be better than they were a year ago. A lot of the upland cotton that's grown here in the San Joaquin Valley is specifically for seed contracts. As one grower mentioned that he had around 3.5 bale yield last year. he's running probably 3.7 to 3.8 this year. So that's really the only, hard evidence that I have that yields are better. But, driving around and listening to people talk about their crops, they all feel like the crop is at least, if not a little bit better than their crop last year. So I was a little bit surprised when I saw USDA lower the Pima yields in this last report, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. We need to take some of this Pima supply off the board because there's a lot of Pima cotton out there, and it needs to be absorbed by the marketplace so prices can start rising. But overall, I think our crop is about what keeps coming out on the crop condition survey. It could be a little bit better, but overall, it's in good shape.
Last week with WASDE report, we had WASDE, we had another hurricane come through. Prices finally broke that 67-cent barrier. What basically happened in that 24-hour period there then, and why did the prices react the way they did?
Well, the report, while it was not what analysts expected, who knows what analysts know? I don't know that we know anything. So the market saw that while basically the U.S. situation was not changed and we still are heavy on carryover stocks, it did see that USDA took world ending stocks down 3 million bales. And even at 100 million, 3 million bales is a good number. And while it doesn't say we should see higher and higher prices, it does say that the market is supported by that report. And as a consequence, I think, in my opinion, with all the turmoil, if I can use that word, going on in the world, the uncertainty, I think the market was comfortable staying where it was. Again, and we continue, as you say, to challenge this 70-cent mark. We got to where I thought we would get to, 68.5 cents, and we've done a little bit better than that. And maybe we'll do better. I did not think we would break above 69.5. We hadn't closed there, but we've been there. Maybe we will. And once we're this close, no matter, anything can happen.
Jarral, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the prices typically rise before the hurricane hits, right? And then it hits, and then prices come down. So it was somewhat shocking last night to see cotton open over 68 cents, never looked below 68 cents in the night of trading. And then it just kind of worked its way higher. We eventually, got within shouting distance of 70 cents at a high of 69.47. And there doesn't seem to be a good explanation why prices, were up there. The Chinese prices were a lot higher overnight. The China Cotton Index, which is, an indication of mill delivered prices in China, that was up strong. Certificated stocks on the Chinese futures exchange were down over 100,000 bales. The Chinese textile PMI came out, and it was somewhat friendly in the sense that it was indicating expansion. So I guess there were just a lot of things out there that, hurricane aside, people are feeling better about the cotton market, at least about the whole supply-demand situation. And, sometimes you start looking around for explanations and you go, well, how can it be with 102 million bales in consumption and 118, 19 million bales in production, and we're up here at prices basically higher than before the whole, pandemic hit, what's going on? And you wonder, was USDA too aggressive in lowering world consumption? Should it actually be a little bit higher for last year and for this year? I don't know the answer to that, but it's just a strange thing why we're up here when, if you just look at the numbers, we shouldn't be.
Well, I certainly will agree with Jarral. It's just the fundamentals aren't matching up with our price forecast. And historically, we just, there can't be this high with these fundamentals. But again, every year is a different year. So what's different about this year? And I don't know that I know, but Jarral did mention something that we didn't talk about yesterday, but last week in our discussion. But the Chinese market. Well, Chinese had been off a week, and they came back on for Friday's trading, basically, and the market was really strong in China. And it was, I think, strong again, as he said, over the weekend. And I think maybe New York is feeding off of that somewhat. I don't know that it is. I'm just suggesting there's a good chance because China has been shut down for a week. And Chinese apparel numbers, spending numbers came out pretty good. And of course, USDA raised Chinese consumption of, 1 million bales, Jarral?
Yes.
So, all of that sort of dovetailed together. And I think it's a time that the market possibly may well be paying attention to what's going on in China. So I don't know that that's correct, but that's a very plausible thought to me. Particularly again to say it for the second or third time, the market had been shut down for a full week, and all of a sudden it reopened with a boom and a lot of discussion. I guess we'll talk about that later. Well, I'll lead into it now, maybe, but China's going to buy a good bit more U.S. cotton.
And that does lead into my next question. Now that we got harvest going on, we're getting closer to having some new stocks available for the market. Is this basically what China's waiting for? Is the market waiting for what's coming out of the fields right now?
I don't think they were waiting for colored up cotton.
I'm glad Jarral answered that first. I was wondering what to say. But China wants quality. Now, what they really want is 31, 336, and better. If the sun came out pretty quick down here in the Mid-South, maybe it'll dry it out, take spots out of it real quick if we can keep that sun out bright enough. But we might sell. I mean, the low grades that this storm may give us might sell. You get cotton cheap enough, anybody buy it for anything. I'm just scared that there's so much low grade around the world, and U.S. low grades might move last. Jarral last week made a comment about the dependability of the U.S. merchants and co-ops, and that's an extremely strong plus for the United States. We deliver what we sell. The U.S. does, and that's a feather in the farmer's cap because of the merchants and co-ops. So, but they want quality, and I think the board is attempting to reflect that. Of course, the board is wanting to trade strict low milling at 41.434, but China wants a little bit better piece of cotton than that. So maybe we can carry this market another 2 cents higher.
Good deal. Well, guys, we've been talking about the market. USDA has been dropping its production estimate for the U.S. for several months now, coming in currently, I think, at 17 million bales, given the recent weather issues. And, we've talked a lot about the hurricanes too, but even areas that were not affected by a hurricane have had some adverse weather. Where do you think this crop may end up?
Wow, wild card there. Jarral's talking about California looks good. The old action, big crops get bigger, small crops get smaller. But if we go through the stats on that, that's really not true. We like to say it a lot, but it's really not true. That may happen this year. But, since about 2016 or so, if we get good fall weather, these seed varieties just have loaded up and ready to open up some more bowls. So it's just amazing how much fruit these plants are putting on. So it's difficult for me to keep taking this crop down, but just because I keep hearing analysts say, well, it should be smaller. So I've just got to stick with what USDA has.
Yeah, the lowest number that I'm hearing out there in terms of people put numbers together is 16.2. That's just too much. I think if USDA was going to make, any big cuts, it would have been in this report. Of course, they're only doing 4 states now on their objective yield survey, their enumeration process, and the rest of cotton states are depending on people, answering questions. Hey, how's your crop? Oh, it's good. So, I do think it needs to come down somewhere in the 16.6 to 16.8 range. Even the last hurricane, the Delta that came through, the initial estimates are that maybe we lost 50 to 75,000 bales. I don't know. That's just people, jabbering. It's hard to know. It's always dangerous to try to make a crop assessment right after a storm hits, because as always says, you get the storm out, you get a little wind, you dry it out, things aren't as bad as they might have looked like the day of the storm. But I think there's room for a little bit of a reduction in the U.S. crop, but not, 800,000 bales.
Yeah, and Jim, to me, a 300,000 bale drop would be absolutely huge. Anything that's below 16.8, even 16.7, in my opinion, in the absence of any other storm, it's just not there. Again, we have time for some of these bowls to open that historically we might not thought would open if this weather is open through the rest of the fall.
I know there's some growers in North Carolina that would really love to have some dry weather and get that top crop to open up a little bit.
The temperature outlook for the Delta is what, mid 70s basically for the next couple of weeks?
Yes.
That's not the best weather if you want this crop to develop in a hurry. So would you say?
Well, we want to, no, we just want to keep it above 70 degrees or above.
Okay.
Now, if it falls to 69, it's hard to say this, but I can say it. I'm old. If it falls to 69, that's bad. Just keep it above 7
on the highs. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, O.A., I'm going to make you put your money where your mouth is on this one, at least, because last week you suggested finally it's time for growers to go ahead and get up to 90% priced, and kind of use the rest 10% for basically mad money. You still think that's accurate right now?
Well, I would still do it. I had burned up on a number of calls this weekend and this morning, and right up to we just talked. I was surprised at the number of people that hadn't sold anything, and I was also surprised that when I said, "Well, you've got to get to at least 75%," that a couple of guys said, "Don't you think I need to sell more?" I said, "Well, we're so close to 70 cents. We're so close to 69 cents. You put it in at 69 and a few points, and you probably get it because you would have today." The market has done more than I expected, period. Just I'll say 100 points more. So yeah, I'm ready to. I'm ready to. I'll have to keep that 90%, but I can. I told one gentleman this morning. I said, I don't blame if you just want to do 75%, keep 25% out, but don't expect, in my wildest imagination, anything above 72 cents, and I just no way it can get to 72 cents. Hope it does, of course. But I just, again, it's a little difficult for me to believe we've gotten it this high. However, I'll come back and say it again. And it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. There's something causing China to buy cotton. Is it the trade package? Who knows? I personally think it is, but something's having China buy cotton. They're buying the heck out of soybeans. They're buying the heck out of corn. They're buying the heck out of everything. As long as the market continues to think that they're going to buy some more, I think the market's going to remain strong. 6 weeks or so ago, I said they're going to end up buying 8 to 10 million bales this year and 8 to 10 million bales next year, imports. Well, not from the U.S., but in total. But the U.S. we've sold them 5 million bales over the last year or so. Well, we shipped 5 million bales during the calendar year. And we should expect that in 2021. So shipping that kind of cotton is going to keep this market stronger than I thought several months ago. But at the same time, our exports to other countries are lagging. So to me, it's difficult to get it above 70%.
Yeah. Jarral, what are you telling your growers right now?
Somewhere between 68 and 69 cents. It's and like I always said, save a little bit for, who knows where we could get to. I think we've got an outside shot of getting up to just under 71 cents, but I didn't think we had. believe we had a big shot of getting up here, given all the numbers, but the only thing you had to hang your hat on was a, unfilled chart gap between 68.98 and 69.17. Well, we filled that gap. And, the last 3 days of trading, even though the market has been pretty strong early, it has not settled in the upper half of the range. And that's just not, I don't think we can continue this to where the market is strong and then it closes out fairly weak. So I think we're getting close to where guys ought to be more, as O.A. says, much more aggressive in terms of trying to get something priced.
One last question. And you guys are two of the best economic prognosticators I know of. Are there any other watch outs out there that we need to be watching, that growers in the market need to be paying attention to over the next month or so until we can get this crop out of the ground?
Jarral, I'm going to defer to you. At Steadman, I'm just trying to think. We have to watch our exports. We've got to have, we don't have to have sales to China this month. We need to be next month. They have bought more quicker, sooner than I ever expected. But we've got to continue to sell them cotton. We have to continue to sell them cotton, or we don't challenge the 70 or 71, whatever.
That, and I think it would be good if merchants tell me that everything is for nearby shipment. It doesn't matter what country it is. And that makes you worried about going down the road in terms from a consumption standpoint. At least the retailers aren't confident yet that they can, plan 6, 8, 9 months ahead of time and they've got a good handle on things. So, I would watch out for possibly, some, if we don't get a stimulus package passed, I think that's going to start putting some real hurt on the consumer as we move forward. Consumption may not increase as much as USDA thinks for 2020. It would be nice if we didn't need the stimulus package, because I just don't think from an economic standpoint, the health of the country to keep putting this much, the country into this much debt. But clearly this pandemic has caused, a lot of pain out there. And there's a lot of people out there who are looking for jobs. And hopefully, they'll find something here in pretty quick order. But I think the stimulus package, something needs to happen to kind of get us over the hump until we can put some real distance between us and this coronavirus.
That's a good point, Jarral. Jarral's making a great point. Jim, if I may just to add on to this, I'm going to mention U.S. domestic consumption. It's very small. It's a grower certainly can't watch that. It's not enough cotton to watch. It's forecast by USDA at 2.5 million bales. And maybe it will be. I hope it will be. Jarral's talking about the consumer, rightfully so, as he said, and the pain that's there. We did not consume domestically but 2.2 million bales last year. So I'll actually be surprised if we meet that target, if it's anywhere near as strong as USDA is. So as a consequence, if we don't consume that, even though we sell more cotton overseas or sell more cotton to China, or the U.S. crop gets a little smaller due to weather, we still, in my opinion, are facing increased stocks on the domestic consumption side. So we bring it down one place, we lose it at another. But supporting this market, believe it or not, and I'm on both sides of the market today, aren't I? Let's look out at December 21. Corn and soybeans are just on blazes, just on fire. I had a Southeast Georgia cotton grower tell me he was booking corn next year for $4.85 a bushel. I thought he was pulling my leg, but I think I hope he's not. I hope that's true, baby. If corn is that strong, and I thought it'd be strong, but that strong, cotton is December 21 cotton at 68 cents has got to go up at least 3 more cents, at least, to plant any cotton. So we can continue to watch that. So we may get a little drag from the far back end, drag higher. I don't know that. That's a little wild to suggest, but we're certainly looking at it.
Sounds good. I think it's safe to say all options are open at this point, right?
All options are open.
Well, as much as I hate to say it, it's time to wrap this discussion up and let both of you get back to the rest of your day. O.A. and Jarral, thank you again for taking time to join us today on the Cotton Companion. As usual, it has been informational and it has been fun.
Thank you all for grower support. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Jim. This was enjoyable.
Great. Thank you so much.
Once again, that wraps up this episode of the Cotton Companion podcast. Thanks again to Dr. O.A. Cleveland and Jarral Neeper for joining us in our virtual studio today. And thank you, dear listeners, for joining us. If you like what you hear on the Cotton Companion, please be sure to spread the word and tell your farmer friends about this podcast. Here's how you do it.
You can find the Cotton Companion in 3 easy ways. First, go to cottongrower.com/companion or simply click the podcast tab at the top of the homepage. Second, subscribe to our channel on iTunes or wherever you find your podcasts these days. And 3, sign up for our weekly e-newsletter, the Cotton Grower e-News, that's delivered to your email inbox every Tuesday morning. You can do that by going to cottongrower.com/subscribe. Also, be sure to follow Cotton Grower on social media. We are at Cotton Grower Mag on Twitter. And on Facebook, you'll find us by searching for Cotton Grower Magazine.
Well, the October issue of Cotton Grower should already be in your mailboxes, and our November issue is going to be heading to press this week. And I just wanted to put in a quick plug for our Cotton Kids page that we feature in each issue. This is the perfect time of year to take and submit photos of your kids, grandkids, and their friends. All we need are great photos, the name or names of the kids in the photo, your hometown, and written permission to use the photo. Information on submitting the photographs can be found in every issue of Cotton Grower. I've even gotten a few in over the past week through Messenger on the Cotton Grower Facebook page. So thanks in advance, and we'll be looking for the photos. This podcast is produced by Tyler Hatch, Kim Henderson, our talented colleagues back at the world headquarters for Meister Media Worldwide in lovely Willoughby, Ohio. My name's Jim Steadman. I'll be back with you in a few weeks for the next episode of the Cotton Companion. So for now, on behalf of my own Cotton Companion, Frank Giles, we wish you all the best and stay safe.
Yeah, he works and he works and he works and he works all day. God made fun.